Today's video, I'll be going over my favorite types of weapons or my favorite types of training styles or weapon styles. You'll get what I mean when I do the video. So I have if you've been watching the channel, you know I have different types of weapons that I like using, archery, guns, swords, all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm going to do this in a series where I talk about my different types of favorite weapons I like, my favorite types of guns, favorite types of knives, swords, because my weapons collection is going to always continue growing, and it's just too much to only put in one kind of list. So for this video, it's going to be different types of weapon training styles. That's the best way I can explain it. So I have 6 types of weapons that I really like, and these are the ones that I'm pretty decent at to say that, yes, I do this. And there's some other ones that are off the list that I kind of do. I like them, but I'm not really passionate about them. And I think I'll just name some of those. So some honorable mentions would be Cali's, like sticks with Filipino martial arts. I think it looks cool and people are really good at them, but it's just not something that I ended up being very good at. And when I first started, like a lot of things, I'm self-trained at most of them. So I wasn't really sure what to do. And then after I learned, it's like, okay, so there's a certain type of pattern, like they have the triangle, and you have to do that. And I learned about all the strikes and all the blocks, 1 stick, 2 stick. It's pretty cool when you watch a lot of videos on it, but it's just like learning it. It's like, I think I got it down until I started doing it, and it looks like crap. And next, after that, I would say bow staff. Now, bow staff is one of those martial arts weapons that people use and that a lot of like normies are very impressed by. Like there's this one girl, what's her name? The black girl with the afro. You know what I'm talking about. Samurai Rider. That's her name on Instagram. Like I think she's the most impressive person I've seen with the bow staff, and that's kind of what got me interested in it, other than me just thinking, oh, this is something I should pick up. But it's another very cool weapon that if you can use, you'll look very impressive with, impress normies, and yeah, stuff like that. So now let's get into my actual list of my favorite weapons. At number 6, I have the nunchucks. Now, me, when I first started nunchucks for like the first couple years, it would be insane that I'd have this on the bottom of my favorites. But after using more weapons that are actually effective, it just has to go down there. Now, nunchucks, it's the martial arts weapon that I think is the most coolest. So, in that terms, yes, it is above the sticks and anything else. And I got into I got into nunchucks just from watching Bruce Lee movies. You know, it's a bit cliche, but that's what got me into using nunchucks. I saw him, saw the moves, and eventually I would go on to reenacting them in every single movie, The Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, The Way of the Dragon, and Fist of Fury. And I gotta say that it is another one of those weapons that will impress normies if they care. I haven't used nunchucks in a while at the time of recording this video, but when I did, it just felt very therapeutic because it's like there's the flow that comes with using the nunchucks and flicking it back, doing all the spins and all that stuff. It just feels very relaxing. The only con I can really think of when I'm practicing with nunchucks is hitting myself. Now, when it comes to all of my weapons training, I never used any practice weapons. And I know that's pretty much of a bad thing, but I just want to use the real thing rather than the fake thing transferring the real thing. It's like, oh shit. So yeah, I used real nunchucks the whole time. I first started in 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019. And just real ones from there. And worst part is fucking hitting yourself. Like if you hit yourself with the nunchucks, like the elbow, it's always the elbow. It hurts like hell. It just feels like your arm is just broken because you feel it all the way down to your wrist. And especially if it's like cold or hot. Well, really when it's cold, if you hit anything, it just hurts like hell. And I'm outside, you just feel that cold weather, that cold, that freezing weather. It sucks, man. So now let's move on to number 5, and that would be knife. When I say knife, I mean like the Cali or Eskrima. I don't really remember how to say it. And you're just doing moves like that with a blade. I use my switchblade or a dagger, really whatever works. as long as you're doing the right thing and the tactics right. And that's something that I feel is useful for when I don't have a gun. And it's not high on the list in terms of like most effective, but what I enjoy personally. Because before I had guns, I would always carry a knife and I wanted to be effective with a knife. And I think that's what made me want to use it more, because I didn't have guns and I wanted to have the weapon that was the most practical. And that's the only thing you can carry around is a knife that you can conceal. You can't carry around a sword or a bow and arrow like it's England in the 12th century, like a Robin Hood. So yeah, I carried the knife, learned how to strike, cut, slash, stab, and all that kind of stuff. I don't really get into the martial arts aspect as much as some other people do, because for me, I'm not learning how to have a knife fight. Like, I'm learning how to get someone off of me. I'm not going to say the K word, but you know what I mean. That's why I'm using the knife. That's all I really got to say about the knife. Is there isn't that much to it. But I will say is I do have a pretty big knife collection. It's decent. And I have different types of Bowie knives, throwing knives, just switchblades, pocket knives. So my overall knife collection, it's a pretty big one. But in terms of using it for combat, it's it's somewhere on the list. It's in the top 5. So it's pretty high up there for me. My favorite thing to do with knives is throw them, and I'm going to get to that shortly. So next we got number 4, and that's katana slash sword. Now, swords are cool, but the thing is, there's different types of swords. You train them differently. You don't train a long sword the same way you train a katana or would use a scimitar. So there's different types of swords that you got to use and train with. And for me, katana, when I didn't have a gun or a bow, it was number 1 on the list because it was the coolest thing I had. And there's really a lot that goes into it. That's why it kind of gets knocked down on the list. Because when I train katana again, the self-trained thing, I don't have a teacher, someone to teach me how to do this or that. So I had to learn on my own and watch different videos, right? And after a while, I'm like, this is a lot, dude. Like, I'm doing all this, I'm not even going to be in a sword fight. So it's like, what's the point? I can make cool videos here and there, but I'm not going to use this in combat. And that's why I think I don't take it as seriously as I used to, because it was just for fun. And I had some people, martial arts community again, it's like, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do it. And I did cut myself because they're saying you should use the bokken, you gotta use a training sword. And I never used a training sword again. All the weapons I used were real. The swords, they were duller and they became sharper and sharper. And now I got a super sharp one, did something stupid, cut myself. So you could say I learned lessons from that, but I'm just kind of like, it happens. In terms of aura, though, I mean, a sword, sometimes I am putting it above a gun in terms of aura. Because, I mean, just look at this. Just look at, like, holding this and being a samurai in Japan and going into battle. Like, it's a badass weapon, for sure. Like, it's not even close. And this is my favorite katana. Red, super sharp. The scabbard, it's kind of weird. I think this part has gotten like duller, and that's why it kind of just slides out. That's pretty bad, and I need to get that fixed. Other than that, this is one of my favorite overall weapons in terms of like actual items. And I got another one too. I have a black one. I think I'm gonna get that one too. So this is my all black one. Another cool sword I have. Never cut myself with this one. I think I had the most fun training with this one because it just looks like very badass. It's all black katana. How would it not? But yeah, katana, it's number 4 in terms of my favorite weapon styles, but in terms of aura, it's right next to gun. Now, number 3, we have throwing knives. Now, throwing knives, that's my first love. Like, this is what I got into before I started working out, before I touched any other weapon, before I even got into martial arts. I got into throwing knives. And the story of that is I had some little knife I threw it out of the box and it landed like first time. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I just kept doing it, and I thought about, oh, maybe I should get some throwing knives. I got some throwing knives, and I guess the rest is history. And I don't really have much to say about throwing knives. It's just a very fun thing to do, especially when you can actually land a throw from a super far distance. The longest throw I've ever made was about like 42 feet, something like that. I was in the woods. I'm not sure if I have a video of it. Maybe I'll post it if I have it. And it was like a few years ago, maybe even longer than that. It might have been like 2020. Yep, just had it. And I throw them at trees. I know that's controversial, but I do throw them at trees. Chucked it, spinning, of course, and it landed. So yeah, it's just a very fun thing to do. And I've learned how to throw with both hands, two in one hand. Learned how to throw half spin, no spin, full spin, all with both hands, left, right, simultaneous, whatever. Next, moving on to number 2, and that's archery. Now, archery is the one that just makes me feel like an ancient soldier in wherever in the world, because archery has been man's best friend longer than gun, and I think even longer than, well, of course, longer than sword, but it's right there around spear. Like, we've been using this to hunt, battle for thousands of years, and it didn't become obsolete until about when the 1800s, I think. Well, for a lot of advanced militaries, that's probably maybe a little bit before or around then. But it's been with us for a very long time, and people still use archery today to hunt. So it is still man's best friend longer than anything else, even spear, because spear that became obsolete even before archery did. So yeah, archery, it's another thing, and it's just as badass. Like, if you look at the English archers, the archers in North Sentinel Island, they've been defending their land with some crazy bows that they probably just made with sticks, and it's been working for them. You look at the Mongolian archers, Turkish archers. Like, there's a lot of cool archery. There's a lot of cool archers in history, and when I'm holding a bow and arrow, I just feel like them, and I feel like what's it called? Like a fantasy archer. You just really got to be into it to understand what I'm saying. And the bow that I use currently is a 60-pound bow. It's a recurve. I would prefer recurve. I never shot a compound. I don't think I ever will unless someone gives me one to shoot. But yeah, I like the recurve. It's a takedown bow that comes in parts. So it has the arch hold. The I'm sorry, I don't know the names, and the string. I take that out in the woods, set myself up a little target, and shooting. And that's, the crazy thing about arrows too is they do cost money, and losing them sucks, and especially if they're bad and they break. But fortunately, I haven't had any bad arrows in some time, and I learned the hard way that there's bad arrows out there, and you don't know until you try them out. Like, what's on my list of one of my most wanted weapons of all time is a English longbow. I want like someone, I want one that's like 100 pounds too. That sounds kind of heavy, but I feel like the 60, it feels kind of light. And if I just get enough practice with 100 pounds, it won't be that heavy. But then again, probably is, because archery is a pretty intense thing to train. Like, it's a whole workout, literally. Like, your back, you got to have a strong back for archery. Now we're moving on to number 1, and I think you know what this one is. It's guns. Now, I'm just putting guns in one category because there's different types of guns. I have 3 different types of guns, and it's the most effective weapon you can own. Like, why would it not be number 1? And it's super fun too. Most effective, super fun, more badass, especially when you have different types of guns, like revolvers. You have a cool AR. If you have a nice shotgun, like, all of it is just, it's just above everything else. And my favorite gun specifically would be my 44 Magnum pistol. 44 Magnum pistol. Ever see what it can do to a woman's face? I'm just kidding, guys. That's a joke from Taxi Driver. Don't hurt people. But it's my favorite one. It is a Taurus. I wish it was Smith & Wesson, but they're so expensive, so I just got a Taurus. And this, yeah, it's my favorite gun to shoot. 44 Magnum. Packs a lot of punch, of course. And I just like revolvers. I think revolvers are the coolest looking handguns. Because I mean, look at this thing. Big iron or big steel. Nothing really beats it. I know I probably shouldn't dry fire. Some people probably get mad at that. You're putting your finger on the trigger. Don't do that, bro. I mean, it's a revolver. You can see there's nothing in it. It's not like people playing with loaded handguns and they get shot on accident, just like that actually happened, like not far from where I live, like literally seconds from where I live. Guns. Revolvers and shotguns are probably going to stay at the top of my favorites. I do own an AR and another 9mm pistol as well, but revolvers and shotguns, I just like the blast from it. I like the recoil. I like how powerful it feels to shoot a slug. And if I do have to defend anything, I'm going to use a shotgun before anything else, if I'm at home, of course. I mean, nothing beats guns. And I don't care what weapons you use. If you're into martial arts and you just like martial arts weapons, if you use guns and you have fun with it, if you're being honest, you're definitely putting it number one. So yeah, that's pretty much my list. Favorite types of weapon styles, whatever that I like to use. If you have any comments to say, put in the comments, give this video a like, subscribe if you're not already. Hope people see this video because I feel like this is a pretty good one. Might be one of my favorite videos or series, because this will be a series. And subscribe for when I post more of these videos. Till then, see you next time.